Well, you're pregnant. Elena Briggs had always prided herself on her composure, but at that moment, she was distracted. For 2 years, she had been Caden Evans's secret wife, and on the company books, nothing more than his personal assistant at the Evans Group. She'd learned to swallow her feelings, but this was different. The doctor's words hadn't fully registered, leaving her in a strange state of shock. The phrase echoed in her skull, drowning out everything else. She was barely aware of the room until Caden's fingers gripped her arm, pulling her back to the present. His voice was low and impatient. "What's going on in that head of yours?" Before she could answer, he cupped the back of her head and pulled her into a deep, demanding kiss. Then, just as abruptly, he let her go. Caden rose and headed for the bathroom without a backward glance. Elena lay on the large bed, her limbs heavy with exhaustion. Her hair was plastered to her temples, and her eyes were still wet. Every muscle ached. After catching her breath, she eased open the bedside drawer and slipped out the pregnancy test result. A persistent stomach ache had sent her to the doctor earlier that afternoon. Her blood work confirmed she was nearly 5 weeks along. Elena had felt nothing but a hollow shock. She thought they had been careful. They had always used protection. She searched her memory of the past month, her mind snagging on a single night. After a business gala, Caden had brought her home. At the door, he paused and asked, almost as an afterthought, if she was safe that night. She never imagined one careless, unthinking moment could lead to this. Then again, she'd never been able to say no to him. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. Behind that door was her husband of 2 years, a man whose existence as her husband was a carefully guarded secret. He was also her boss, Caden, the CEO of the Evans Group. It had all started with a single reckless night that landed her in his bed when she was just a new hire. Soon after, his grandfather had fallen gravely ill. Caden proposed a temporary solution, a marriage on paper to fulfill his dying grandfather's wish for him to settle down. They'd signed a prenuptial agreement, a secret office marriage, terminable at any time, no strings attached. At the time, Elena had felt like she'd won the lottery. She was going to marry the man she'd secretly admired from afar for 8 years. Her longtime crush. It was a dream she'd never dared to voice, and she had said yes instantly. After the wedding, Caden was too busy to come home most nights. But in those 2 years, there had never been another woman, not even a whisper of a scandal. Aside from his coldness, he was almost the perfect husband. That's what she kept telling herself. Staring at the pregnancy test in her hand, a faint, nervous smile touched her lips. She would tell him, tonight. She also wanted to tell him that the night 2 years ago wasn't their first meeting. She had loved him long before that, for 10 years in total. The water finally shut off. The moment Caden stepped out, his phone rang. He answered it on the balcony, wearing nothing but a towel slung low on his hips. Elena's eyes drifted to the clock. It was past midnight. A knot of unease tightened in her stomach. Who would be calling so late? When he returned, he dropped the towel without a hint of self-consciousness. He had the kind of body that commanded attention. Wide, powerful shoulders, a sculpted chest, and lean hips tapering down to impossibly long legs. Despite everything, a deep blush still crept up Elena's neck, and her pulse quickened. Caden walked to the bed, grabbed his dress shirt and trousers, and began to dress. His long, deft fingers knotted his tie, his profile chiseled and cool. There was an arrogant grace in every precise movement, a certainty that belonged to a man who never doubted his place in the world. It was almost enough to make her forget herself. Almost. Get some rest, he said. Was he leaving? Disappointment flickered through her. Her fingers tightened around the pregnancy report, pressing it against her thigh. She hesitated, then heard herself ask, "It's so late." Caden's hands paused on his tie. He reached out and lightly pinched her earlobe, a ghost of a smirk playing on his lips. If you ask me to stay, you'll regret not getting any sleep. Her face burned. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She opened her mouth to say something, anything, but he had already let her go. Be good, he murmured, the words a soft dismissal. I have things to take care of. Don't wait up. And just like that, he headed for the door. Caden. She scrambled after him, her voice catching in her throat. He turned, his sharp jawline catching the light, his gaze level and direct. What is it? His voice held a distant chill, as if he were already miles away. A familiar ache seized Alina's chest. Pushing it down, she asked softly, Do you have time to visit my grandmother with me tomorrow? Her grandmother was ill. Elina desperately wanted Caden to be there, just once, to set the old woman's mind at ease. We'll see, he said. He didn't say yes, but he hadn't said no. Then he was gone. After her shower, Elina tossed and turned, but sleep wouldn't come. She finally gave up, wandered to the kitchen, and warmed a glass of milk. An entertainment news alert popped up on her phone. She normally ignored them, but her thumb froze mid-swipe when she spotted a familiar name. She tapped it open. Top designer Valerie returns, spotted with mystery man at airport. Valerie, Caden's ex and a rising star in the fashion world, was back. In the photo, she wore a low bucket hat. The man beside her was just a blurry silhouette, but that build was unmistakable. Elina zoomed in, and a low hum started in her ears. It was him. The man beside Valerie was Caden. So the meeting he'd canceled that afternoon, he'd never been overseeing a deal. He'd gone to pick up his ex. A cold, heavy weight settled in her stomach, making it hard to breathe. Her trembling fingers moved on their own, dialing his number. She fumbled to hang up, but before she could, a voice answered. Hello. It was a woman's voice, soft and gentle. For a single, frozen heartbeat, Elina couldn't move. Then she threw the phone as if it had burned her. Her stomach churned, and she barely made it to the bathroom before she was violently sick. The next morning, Elina showed up for work right on time. After their rushed marriage, Caden had wanted her to stay home, but she'd insisted on earning her own living. He'd relented, but on his terms. He kept her close as a nominal assistant who did little more than fetch coffee, ensuring she was always within his sight. Any task of actual importance went to Derek Marshall, his most trusted senior aide. Within the company, only Derek knew the truth about their relationship. The executive floor had always been an all-male domain, a tradition Elina alone had broken. Naturally, everyone whispered that she must be sleeping her way to the top. But when time proved that Caden showed her no special treatment, the contempt only deepened. The unspoken verdict was in every glance, looks wouldn't keep her in his favor for long. Just then, a colleague handed Elina a file to deliver to the CEO's office. Caden hadn't come home last night. She hadn't slept a wink. Her mind had been racing, haunted by the same questions. Had they spent the whole night together? Who was this woman to him now? She already knew the answers, but she wasn't ready to face them. Maybe some people needed a harsh reality check to finally wake up. But now, walking down the executive corridor, she felt eerily calm. Whatever happened, she needed closure for the 10 silent years she had spent loving him. She pressed the elevator button with a steady hand. Before the doors opened, she smoothed her hair and checked her reflection. She would have this conversation with her head held high. As she approached the CEO's heavy office door, a voice from inside stopped her cold. Do you even have any feelings for Elina? The speaker was Simon Campbell, Caden's childhood friend and resident troublemaker. What are you getting at? Caden's voice was as cold as ever. Simon clicked his tongue. I think Elina's great. Still not your type. Why don't I set you up with her? Caden replied, his tone utterly indifferent. No, thanks. A dismissive laugh echoed from inside, sharp and grating. They were talking about her like she was an object to be passed around. Elena's breath caught. Her grip on the file tightened, her palms growing damp and cold. Then Simon's voice came again. That mystery man in the photos with Valerie, that was you, wasn't it? Yeah. Wow. You'd really do anything to keep her happy, wouldn't you? A whole night with Valerie. Simon's tone turned lewd. The reunion sex must have been explosive, huh? The floor seemed to drop out from under Elena's feet. The blood drained from her face, and a deep, numbing cold spread through her limbs. A whole night. Reunion sex. The words hammered at her, each one a physical blow. A roar filled her ears. Her vision blurred, the world dimming at the edges. She was about to turn and flee when the door clicked open. Elena?